meeting. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to ask people, if you can, to please be aware of your language and try to keep the cursing to a minimum in respect for people that are watching. First off, we have introductions. My name is Tom Bailey. My wife and I live in Penn Hills. I've been registered green since the early 90s. And the wish list is that we continue to have good turnout for these Zoom General Assemblies. Ron, you want to do an intro?
I'm sorry, did you say me?
Yes, please.
Oh, intro. Okay, I'm Ron Gavalik. I'm the media coordinator. I live in Pitcairn, Pennsylvania.
Garret.
Hi, I'm Garret Wassermann. I'm the vice chair of the Allegheny County Green Party, and I live in Coriopolis on the west side of Pittsburgh.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Bierke, I'm here from Knoxville, and I'm a new green this year.
Okay, welcome. Mel.
Yeah, Mel Packer. I live in Point Breeze. I guess I've been in the Green Party for a long time, been an activist for a long time. I was actually briefly a Senate candidate back in 2010, 2011, I forget which.
Barbara.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Barbara.
Yeah, I'm actually from McKean County, but I'm just kind of sitting in because it's on Zoom and I can do it, and just checking you guys out and saying hi to everybody.
Barbara, which county are you from?
McKean.
McKean, okay, thank you.
I guess this thing
Beth?
doesn't work.
Beth?
I'm Beth Stronger. I live on the north side of Pittsburgh.
Jay?
I'm Jay Walker. I live in Shadyside in Pittsburgh. And I've been a Green for a couple years, like organizing with the Green Party, and maybe like 5 years as a registered Green, something like that, 7 years in New York.
Paul?
Hi, Paul Dordal from Penn Hills, outside of Pittsburgh, and I've been a registered Green for almost 20 some odd years, and also a member of the Party of Socialism and Liberation.
Thank you. Catherine?
I'm Catherine Abby Eva. I'm from Mount Lebanon. I've been a registered Green for a few years, and I'm also involved with Movement for a People's Party.
Vanessa?
Hi there, my name is Vanessa. I live in Millvale. I actually just joined the Green Party this year, so just really interested to see what y'all might talk about today.
Welcome. Dominic, please.
Hey, name's Dominic. Live in Swissvale, very near the area. I still registered Democrat, waiting for my mail-in ballot to get counted for Bernie. And I'll be changing my registration to Green.
Okay. Stephen.
I'm not sure if you can hear me. I'm Steven. I live in Durham. I've been registered Green for 3 or 4 years now.
Yes, I heard you fine, Stephen. Thank you. And one phone call, 412-205. Could you introduce yourself? Okay, we'll go to the agenda then. Chair announcements and report from Jay.
Hi, everyone. I'm the chair of the Green Party, and my announcements are that we, this month, we kind of got our committee meetings up and running. So we have regular meeting schedules for all 4 of our committees, and we'll hear about them more, but it's finance, communications, outreach, and policy. So all of those committees are functioning, and very excitingly, they all have 4 different sets of people in those committees. So that's excellent. We also have, we began having campaign meetings for our State House campaigns. And we're going to continue having those, kind of ramp them up as this month. And we're also going to start having our neighborhood green groups meeting over Zoom so that they'll be ready to meet in person once we can kind of like congregate again. Anything else? Other than that, it's been crazy the past couple of weeks. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that. But things are getting very wild out there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's all.
Okay, treasury report, finance committee is Kelly. Kelly's not with us this evening, at least yet. So I have what she sent to me. First off, for money updates, the income for June was $141.16. We currently have 5 monthly sustaining donors, 2 annual memberships paid this month, and 4 additional annual have already paid for this year, 2020. So we have just over $1,000 to work with. In committee updates for the finance committee, they had their first meeting on May 12th. Attendees were Marcy, Chuck, Mason, Kelly, and Jay. They had lots of great fundraising and dues incentive ideas. If you're new to the Greens, we just have, within the last 6 months, passed a proposal where we're asking people to donate if they could. And Garrett, am I right? We were saying $5 a month as a suggested donation, something like that. Okay. We're planning to allocate a fund for candidates. We're going to try to support 50% of the campaign expenses and ask the candidate to raise the other half. And they are planning to train campaign treasurers this year in preparation for the 2021 local elections. Reminders, Kelly asked if you pay dues, you can pay them online at AlleghenyGreens.org/donate. Encourage members to sign up for monthly or annual dues, but there is also a one-time option. If you really don't want to use the internet, you can mail a check to Green Party of Allegheny County. The post office box is 6934, Pittsburgh, PA 15212. And that was post office box 6934, Pittsburgh, PA 15212. You're welcome to sign up and join the finance committee and to be a campaign treasurer. If you're interested, you can contact Kelly, and I'll get her email, Kelly, Kelly .Kuzumchak, KUZEMCHAK @gmail. That's her report. Okay, we'll keep going. Green Wave Committee, Garrett.
Hi, everyone. So Green Wave is a state party committee devoted to both helping grow local parties across the state as well as supporting our Green Party candidates for office. The short story is continuing because of coronavirus. We haven't been able to do the typical campaign things that we would normally be doing this time of year. With Allegheny County moving into the green phase, there might be more opportunities for us to start ramping things up, like Jay was talking about. So we'll we'll start talking about that more. The main thing is because of the coronavirus and the normal. Greens have to do a lot more work to get on the ballot. We have to get a lot more signatures from voters on a petition in order to get Greens on the ballot. And because coronavirus slowed us down, the state party filed a lawsuit on behalf of all Green Party candidates this year. That was filed on May 15th, I believe, in the Eastern District of Federal Court. So I'm not sure when a hearing's gonna be scheduled or anything, but that's exciting. That court case was filed alongside the Libertarian Party and the Constitution Party. For just kind of general ballot access for everyone who's not a Republican or Democrat, basically. Everyone who couldn't participate in the primaries. We'll see where that goes. An interesting twist is the Democratic Party has filed against the lawsuit already. And their argument is basically that two parts. One, they argue that Greens should have just ran as Democrats in the primary. And it's not their problem that. And then the second thing they argue is that because Greens have the opportunity to influence the outcome of the elections in November, we shouldn't be allowed on the ballot. So they are against it. That is their writing submitted to the court. That is not me saying that. That is literally their lawyer saying that. So that will be circulated very soon. But that's the progress for the lawsuit. So I'm not sure where our statewide and presidential candidates are sitting right now because they have a higher vote count, but me and Jay are running for state representative. We can, our minimums are about 400 signatures. So with the county moving into the green phase, there's an opportunity for us to collect those 400 signatures before the August 3rd filing deadline. So ideally it would be best for us to try to get those signatures. And so we don't have to worry about the court case. Yeah, so that's where we're at. We'll look at 2021 preparations for municipal candidates over the next couple of months. So join the Green Wave Committee if you're interested in that. Sorry, I took a little extra time, but thanks.
Okay, thank you. Media Committee, Ron.
Okay, I don't have a whole lot this month. I'd like to make some thank yous. Okay, so I'd like to thank Alex Downing and Dominic Bordelon for agreeing to take on some social media management. If you guys have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to Garrett or myself. I'd like to thank everyone who has submitted blog articles in the past month or so. If you have an idea for a blog article, please reach out to me and I'll help you get set up so you can contribute. On that same note, I'd like to request that anyone in the Green Party who writes articles for other publications, and I'm kind of sort of half looking at you, Mel, because you write that really cool article for that one website. If you could maybe reach out when you write for these other organizations, if everybody could kind of ask if you're allowed to repurpose it, and we can also put it on our blog as well, that would be really helpful to us.
What are you talking about? I'm sorry, let me interrupt. What article are you talking about?
Did you not write an article recently about the protests?
Oh, actually, no, I put that on my Facebook page and somebody from IDAVOX contacted me and said, can we run this? And I said, sure. It was just something I wrote the night I got home real quick.
Okay, would you mind if we also ran that for the Green Party?
Go for it. Comes right off my Facebook page. Go for it.
Well, I mean, I'll have to work with you in getting you set up with an account on medium.com because it would have to be under your name. But, you know, I'm just saying, okay, great, awesome. I'd like to say thanks to Connor Mulvaney for submitting photos from the protest action. I downloaded those. We'll be using those in future blog posts, so thank you very much. I'd like to thank Dr. Claire for sitting down with me recently. We did an interview, about an hour-long interview about Medicare for All. That will be released to the public in about a week or two, so we'll keep an eye out for that. It'll also be part of our newsletter. I have loose plans to interview Kelly as a treasurer, just to kind of, I want to start giving members and maybe interested parties a glimpse into our processes. And I would like to discuss with Kelly like fundraising opportunities and other treasury activities so people can see what we're up to. We don't have a date scheduled for that yet, but hopefully soon. I'm working about 60 plus hours a week right now, so it's hard for me to find time, but we'll get there. And then just for the last thing, our newsletter that will come out in mid-June, if you guys have any events or actions or ideas for that, of the information you'd like to share, please make sure I get that by June 8th, okay? So you got about a week. And that's it.
Just for especially the new folks, you just heard Ron talk about activities that we're involved with. If you would like to know some of the activities we're involved with, if you look at the agenda that's on the notice that went out, and you click on that agenda, the fourth page are all May and June events that we're having participating with. Thank you, Ron. Outreach Committee, Jay.
So we've been trying to get our phone tree set up just so we can do better outreach. That's kind of more distributed outreach rather than just have a couple people reach out to everybody. So we're still in the process of making that work out well. And also we're planning an event. It's like Pittsburgh Green Enter. It's just an event for everybody to get together on Zoom, hear from some people about why they're switching to the Green Party, hear from some people about why they've been with the Green Party for a long time. And it's just sort of like a mass registration switchover sort of thing. So we're planning that event for a couple weeks from now. Yeah, that's mainly it for outreach.
Okay, thank you. Anti-fracking working, policy committee, Billy. Billy was unable to participate tonight, so this is what she sent me. Billy, for the policy committee, said that the committee wrote a form letter to send to HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and geothermal companies, asking for quotes on borough or municipality-wide geothermal transitions. And they have also identified key areas of focus for our municipal level criminal justice reform policy. So those are the two items that Billy said happened in the policy committee. And Billy and Jay, am I getting, her name is Billy O'Hara? Is that right? Okay. Anti-fracking working group, Michael?
He's not on. If he hasn't sent a report, I can just speak real quick, I guess.
I have nothing from him.
Okay. I think what's been happening in the anti-fracking community is just a lot of events. So Better Path Coalition's been having a bunch of events. Protect PT has been having a bunch of events. All of the groups have just been having, continued events, just educational events about the issue. I think that's mainly what's been happening in that realm. Yeah, I think that's enough. Anyone else want to say something?
I'm actually signed up to testify about methane emissions. In fact, if there's somebody who knows something about it, it would be good if I spoke to them first, because all I know is what I've read on Twitter. I'm pretty about reading Twitter, but on the other hand, I think every citizen who comes and says, I'm not an expert in the subject, but this matters to me as a citizen, and
I can
say something. So I decided to sign up for it.
I can summarize. So I'm signing people up actually for my work for Clean Air Council to testify at this DEP hearing on methane. But basically, Pennsylvania has rules for new methane wells, and they're creating rules for existing methane wells, which are a much bigger emission, source of methane leakage, which is a major greenhouse gas. So we just basically want the laws, the new rules to be proposed in a way that there aren't industry loopholes. So there's like an opportunity for public testimony, 3 days all over the phone. And we're just trying to get as many people signed up to testify as possible. So if you're interested in that, you should talk to me. That's what I get to do during my day job.
Well, I already signed up, so I guess I'm not the person to talk about.
Yeah, I can talk to you about testimony also. What's that, Mel?
Can I say something here? Just a warning to people. There's a guy named Abram Loeb, A-B-R-A-M, last name L-O-E-B, who operates under the name of, I think it's Frack Free Nation, something like that. He has a really active, he's really active on Facebook. And at first glance, it looks like everything's cool. And I think he is cool when it comes to fracking. But he also posts all sorts of conspiracy shit about COVID. And he posts now conspiracy shit about George Floyd's murder was staged. He does that under the idea that we are entitled to consider every perspective. And he thinks we should do that. So if you know an Abram Loeb, you see that, just unfriend him. Get rid of this. Don't let him post on your page, because he's been showing up on mine and I've just unfriended him. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Criminal Justice Working Group, Carmen.
Carmen's not here. I assume she hasn't sent you an update of any sort.
Correct.
It's been in a lull ever since our car action, which was right before our last monthly meeting. We had we were meeting once every week, but sorry, just for context, the Green Party of Allegheny County is part of a policing in Allegheny County coalition that it's been part of that for a few months now, a bunch of months. And we were meeting weekly, but now we moved to bi-weekly, but things have slowed down now because a lot of people in that coalition are also involved in the current actions that are happening. So no major updates from this month.
Okay. Green Energy Working Group. If nobody else has something for that one, I'll mention 2 items. One is I'm involved with a safe energy group out of Harrisburg. We are intervening to try to block the transfer of the license from 3 Mile Island Unit 2, which is where the one that had the accident in 1979. And we are asking that the radioactive waste not be left on the island. And it literally is a 3 Mile island in the middle of the Susquehanna River. I would like everybody to know that our Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Department of Environmental Protection, is also intervening, and they're also requesting that the island not have radioactive waste on it into perpetuity. And we really feel it's a great position for them to take. These attorneys are working from home, and they're taking on the NRC and the nuclear contractors to try to make sure it's as safe as possible. So that's what I have for the Green Energy Working Group. Okay. Single Payer Working Group. Claire, please.
Here's Claire. Oh boy. So Tom, I wasn't quite sure what you were asking me because I didn't see the text, the email until I'm always behind on my emails. But we had, you know that there's 2, possibly 3 members of Green Party on the Western PA Coalition for Single Payer Healthcare. And we had a good rally. I think it would have been better if, unfortunately, the whole circumstance with George Floyd hadn't occurred. But we had, you know, we had a rally at 11:45. It was really a car. We called it a caravan on Saturday morning. At one point, we had 19 cars. And if you counted my car and Judy Albert's car, we had 19 cars. A local TV station, I'm not sure which it is, Jay might know. I think it was ABC, the ABC affiliate, actually came and interviewed some people. We had people start at the Giant Eagle on the south side. Then they came to, there's a long strip park right behind Southside Works, and it was perfect for circling around. So we had the cars circle around that while myself and 4 or 5 other people spoke. Jay was also supposed to speak, but sometimes it got a little messed up, so he didn't. It was a good speech. Everybody made a connection to the police brutality thing. We then went from there to Lamb's office. Only about 10 cars went all the way to Lamb's office, but that was good too. We learned a few things because we'd never done a caravan before. So we learned that it's a mistake to make any left turns. So if Green Party ever does a caravan, right turns only. It's difficult when you have left turns. And I'll never forget that because that's a mess when you do left turn. But I thought it went well. We had about, as I said, at one point we had 19 cars. By the time we got to Lamb's office, we were down to 10, but I still think that was good. And we inspired some people in Beaver County to they now want to do a Medicare caravan in Beaver County. They've even set the date, June 13th, and they're looking to us as the pros that are going to help them do it. So it'll be interesting. I should let people know, because we don't want to lose this, there's 3 bills before Congress. 2 of them we don't want. One we want because it's kind of sneaking Medicare for all on everybody for 2 years, and it's called the Healthcare Emergency Guarantee Act. And so we want to be pushing everybody to push their Congress people to sign that bill, because it'll make sure that everybody has, through using Medicare, will have, and I could give you more details later. It's a bigger discussion, but everybody will be covered. You'll just go to the doctors. You won't have to worry about co-pays or authorizations, not just for COVID, for everything for the next roughly year and a half to 2 years. We figure that happens, people are going to say, we're not going back to the same old, same old. So that's where I am. I don't know if there's any questions, or Jay, you want to say anything, add anything to that? Or
Garrett, you had your hand up.
No, that was just me in support.
Anybody else want to comment?
Actually, Claire, did you say it was called the Healthcare Guarantee Act?
It's called the Healthcare Emergency Guarantee Act.
Emergency Guarantee. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of an awkward name there. I have it on my phone. I can make sure I have it right. But yes, the Healthcare Emergency Guarantee Act. And it's sponsored by right now they have 6 co-signers in the Senate and 15 in the House. Not a lot, but it's a start. And it's co-sponsored by Jayapal and Saunders.
Okay. Anybody else? Jay, are you able to answer the question that we had about when the Criminal Justice Working Group meets, or who to see?
Yeah, so like all of our working groups, there's no real meetings. So for example, the Medicare for All working group, they don't actually meet as the Green Party Medicare for All working group. It's like an email list, and then they are part of Western Pennsylvania. They're part of a lot of other groups. So this Policing in Allegheny County Coalition, it's basically it's like not an open invite. So basically, I'm the representative, like me and Carmen are Green Party representatives in the coalition. So that's like, we don't really have any other meetings besides that. So all we can do is kind of like keep you in the loop through the Slack. You know, I always post what's happening in the Slack. But there's no kind of like separate Green Party criminal justice meeting. But we are having our own Green Party meetings for our committees. And one of the committees is the Policy Committee, and the Policy Committee is working on geothermal, but also on criminal justice reform. So like police policy implementation, you know, oversight, things like that. So that's probably a good place to talk about those issues. But it's like a little different from the working group stuff that we have, which is just like a gathering of Greens.
Okay, thank you. Anti-working group is David. David Hughes. Okay, I guess I don't have a report from him. Green Party of Allegheny County Black Caucus.
Sorry,
Claire.
Well, Claire's here. Here I am. So I don't know if we truly have a Black Caucus yet, but I had called a number of people who were interested, who either had just signed up for Greens or were interested in becoming it. I don't know why it's echoing, sorry. But anyway, Carl Redwood and I have been working on a meeting. We were going to have it this weekend, but after all that's been going on, it's not happening this weekend. So we're probably going to try to pull together a meeting either next weekend or the weekend after of all people. So that'll probably be about a dozen people if you count me, Carl, and Carmen at most, to talk about the role of forming a Black Caucus for sure in Allegheny County or Western PA, and how we can, how we can encourage more Blacks to join, and what's the case we want to make for why Black people should be in Allegheny County, Green Party of Allegheny County. So that's where we are. As I said, we got to little bit waylaid by all that's been going on with the police brutality issue, but we do plan to meet hopefully in a week or two with people to see where they what people are interested in doing and how we can maybe drum up more interest among Black people in Allegheny.
Okay, thank you. Green electeds. Jay.
So our only green elected official in Allegheny County is Tara Yaney in Edgewood. She's part of the Edgewood Borough Council. It's been quiet. They have been canceling a bunch of meetings during social distancing. I know that the project she's been working on, this passive house affordable housing development for seniors in Edgewood, the zoning changes that are needed for that are being put off. So we are planning like a pressure campaign. So we have a little bit more time for that, but we're like in regular communication with her about it. That's it for my update.
And Jay, is she a registered green now?
Yes.
All right. Last one is state national committees, Kelly and Garrett.
Yeah, Kelly's not here, I guess. So let's see. Probably the main thing to mention for the state committee is that this Sunday is the Green Party Pennsylvania's roughly bi-monthly delegates meeting. Everyone is invited to attend if you want to, but you know, it's mostly for our delegates that talk about things going on. There's a substantial debate on a number of topics in the national committee going on right now. There's a couple of members in various Green parties around the country that are being weird about stuff. The Georgia Greens had, well, a couple of guys in the Georgia Greens had a very like trans exclusionary viewpoint, and there's discussion on how to deal with that, how to talk to them about changing their policy or potentially removing their accreditation with the national party if they really continue that. The Rhode Island Green Party made a kind of a stink the other day talking about the presidential campaigns, but there's been a commitment to you know, build support for Green parties in Rhode Island. A number of Rhode Island members were upset about their statement that so I think that's about it. So there's kind of talk about the platforms and all, or updating the platform on a number of issues. I forget anything big, Jay? I kind of feel like I am, but I'm not really sure what it is.
Yeah, it's just a month it feels like forever. So
yeah,
I made this list. I mean, last month we hadn't had our lawsuit filed. So that was like a big thing that happened. We filed our lawsuit between last meeting and this meeting against the state. Yeah, we got money from the national party for that. So that was good. Also happening at the national level is our Green Party National Steering Committee elections are beginning to happen. So like people are being nominated for that. What else? I guess that's mainly it.
Yeah, we the National Ballot Access Committee with the National Party.
I just want to say for new people, this is the Allegheny County Green Party. We are affiliated with organized parties throughout the state, and there's a Green Party of Pennsylvania, and then there's a Green Party of the United States. The delegates go from the Allegheny, the local, to the state body. Delegates go from the state body to the national, and everybody should know that there's actually an organization called Global Greens. I've used this organization. You can contact Green Party members in other countries, and it's remarkable how similar ideas are because you have shared values. So just a little background on the Greens. I'm sorry, Garrett.
Yeah, no problem. That's good to point out, Tom. Yeah, there's over 90 Green parties around the world as part of the Global Greens, and there's kind of a spectrum of thought on things, but they're generally united in their in the four key pillars of the party. democracy, ecology, social justice, and peace. Let's see. So, oh yeah, I was talking about the National Ballot Access Committee. They gave the state an award. I forget what the actual amount is, but I think it was like $1,000 or something to try to help with legal costs of filing the lawsuit. Pennsylvania is not the only state in that situation. At least a half a dozen or so, if not more, other state Green parties have also filed in court because of the coronavirus affecting their ability to petition and do the typical work that gets candidates on the ballot. So a couple of them have already won concessions, either the requirements waived or the signatures removed online. We can't do that. We have to collect physical signatures on paper in Pennsylvania. So, hopefully the lawsuit will change it in our favor somehow. That's what's going on.
Okay.
Reason to be optimistic since other states have already succeeded, though.
All right, we'll go on to old party business. Co-sponsoring patio series by Ron. Ron has signed off. Does anybody want to speak as to the idea he brought up last month?
I guess I should just say that this happened. We did this. We voted to do it last month, and then we did it. We did vote to co-sponsor it. I mean, we did actually.
Yeah, there was an interesting discussion with the John Brown Gun Club at the last meeting. So I'm not sure if they're recorded anywhere or not, but we can share the link. No, okay. Yeah, past videos were about fracking and Medicare for all and things like that. So we expect the patio series to continue with a wide range of topics that are related to green interests.
Okay. Sign-on letters and petitions, Kelly. Pittsburghers for Public Transit and Philly Transit Union letter.
Yeah, again, these are both here to let the membership know that we signed the party onto these things as we voted on it last meeting. Just that's all.
Okay. And the last one says June Green Enter event for old business.
Yeah, I guess this is just like a spot for potentially discussing our event. Further discussion. We kind of threw together a draft program. We've talked to some speakers, but it's still in progress. And we set a date and a time. So it's supposed to be not this Saturday, but next Saturday at 6 p.m. Not trying to have it be too crazy. We haven't really put on an event like this before, so it's going to be a lot of learning. But just so that people get a chance to hear from Greens about why they're green, something simple and a wide variety of Greens in our area. So that's all. I don't know, not too much to discuss really.
Once it's firmed up, will someone within the party send out an email giving the Zoom contact information?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
I have a
Garrett.
Yep. We had talked about doing that event as a Zoom call thing, and with the county opening up a little bit more with COVID, is there any sense that we should do maybe this or some other future event as a little bit more in person? Maybe not in small close quarters, but keeping distancing in a park or something like that. Is that something anyone is interested in doing, or should we wait a little bit for public safety reasons? I'm kind of neutral on that, but I just thought I would kind of ask if we have a plan or if anyone feels strongly.
I think you need to allow for the fact it might rain. So you'd have to have some place where you could get under cover.
I'd like to do an in-person event with masks and the social distancing, and I'd like to see everybody in person if we can. Anybody else? Oh, Jay.
I think I would prefer to do it on Zoom. I don't know, maybe way down along the line. I don't know when I'll feel comfortable to have a big events together, but definitely not in a couple weeks. That's for sure.
in yellow, is it 25? Is that the group size? Okay. All right, we're going to new business then. Co-sponsoring Pittsburghers for Public Transit, Philly Transit Union in a letter. Jay.
I think that was just left on from last time. We did vote to co-sponsor, to sign on to this letter, and the letter was sent. Oh, also we were in the Post-Gazette, so that was cool because we signed on to the letter.
All right. Does anybody else have any new business you want to raise at this time?
I guess if no one else has business, I think we should talk about like what's happening across the country and in Pittsburgh. I don't know.
I think that'd be great.
Maybe like a 15-minute, 20-minute discussion about it, open discussion.
Would anybody like to start off with your experiences? Just throw your hand up.
And I guess we should try to keep them brief because I'm sure a lot of people have their own long stories. You know, I saw Paul was filmed.
Let's hear from him.
Well, you know, getting filmed is a dangerous thing because one, I didn't want to be filmed, but from what my wife told me, they were eyeballing me, and then they took my nicest comments and didn't put any of the comments about organizing and being militant and things of that nature. So just a good lesson, you know, sometimes they put your stuff in context. Now, what I said wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't the fullness of what I wanted to express. You know, I hope these protests keep going. I hope we can maintain our vigilance and keep each other safe, but keep the pressure on.
Claire, do you want to speak?
Yeah, yes. So I actually participated in the protest through street because I had hurt myself at that Medicare caravan. So I went back home to nurse my wounds, and I participated in the rally via two streams. One from a young person, so I saw the whole thing with the car put on fire and all that, and another through a woman named Kate Daher. Some of you may know her. And it was like two different rallies, but I wanted to raise some concerns that I had. So first of all, I think the rallies are great. I want to be supportive of all the people involved, and particularly of the young people. But I think that that there are forces gathering to try to create a really damaging narrative, and we should think about how, if in any way we can counteract it. I just sent Jay a email of something that was sent to me. There's forces trying to make it look like all the looting and other stuff was just done by provocateurs who were white, or people from out of town and stuff like that. And I think we can talk later about why that's dangerous. But then there's also this group gathering force now that's trying to present this as an attack on our decent men and women in blue. And we just need to be aware of that too, and be able to make sure we keep the narrative in our favor and in our corner, that, you know, that people of color predominantly and other marginalized groups have been oppressed and victimized by the police, and that we need to have a response that addresses their issues in society, that other than this reactive, oppressive police force. So, and I could say more, but anyway, so that is the things that those are the two concerns I have. You know, how do we help to build this movement and keep the narrative in our favor? And what do we do to counter those narratives that could destroy or harm the movement? That's all. what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah. Can I go next, or
Go ahead, Garrett.
Right. I don't want to jump in front of anyone else. Give everyone an opportunity. I wanted to comment real quick that most of these events have happened, I think, in downtown Pittsburgh, but there's been a couple of solidarity events, and I live in Coraopolis in the West, and they're planning a solidarity Black Lives Matter march for September. September. Why did I say September? I something on my mind. Saturday, I'm talking. Saturday at noon, and or 10 a.m. is when it starts, actually. 10 a.m. until noon. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is kind of echoing what Claire just said there, that I've already seen people who are in my area on social media talking about they don't want a Black Lives Matter march here because they're worried about looters, and they're worried they're going to burn down the town, and they're worried that they're attacking the cops, and all of this thing, exactly what Claire's talking about. They're already trying to take that narrative away. The organizers are trying really, really hard to say, no, this is a peaceful march. This is a march for justice. This is, beyond what happened to an individual person, general systemic justice, right? Changing our system. And so I definitely appreciate thoughts on how we can best address that and, counter that narrative, because I'm already seeing that in my neighborhood, and I want to try to affect that myself.
Mel.
Yeah. Oh God, a number of things. First off, I want us all to understand that really what is happening in the streets is beyond the control of any of the established leaders on the left at this point. And I think the organizers of the Saturday rally knew that when they got halfway up the hill to the lower hill, or to Freedom Corner, and really didn't know what to do at that point. The crowd was much larger than I think they expected, much more militant than they expected, and they attempted to end it and suggest Christian Carter, Brandy Fisher, Summer Lee, Liv Bennett. They were all there doing their best and really doing a good job. And they suggested we should disperse and go home. In fact, that was the call. And it was unclear to me whether people really were going to disperse. I don't think they were, but they were kind of drifting away. And somebody said, well, let's just move in a different direction then. We have to try and move this crowd, and you all know the rest of it from there. The rallies that I'm seeing are organic leaders are rising out of these. They really are young, organic leaders, and it's not the same leaders at all. There's different people at different times. Right now, there's one going down there, holding down 2nd Avenue in front of the ACJ with, it looks like 500 to 1,000 people. And Nikki Jo Dawson, I think, put that one together, and they've got different people speaking, many of whom I don't know. I've been a lefty revolutionary for 53 years, and most of them in this town. And I used to be able to go to demonstrations and know everybody but about 10%, and that was saddening. Now I can go, if I'm lucky, if I know 10%, because it's predominantly young people that could be my grandchildren, and they're very young. And they attend these things with a rage and a passion, but without a political ideology. It's not like they're coming there and arguing for socialism or social democracy or Medicare for all. They're enraged. They are angry. They're pissed off. The story, of course, is that they are just kids having fun. And we really need to fight that narrative. These are not just kids having fun. In fact, we probably should stop using the term kids, although I have to admit that I use it myself. But then again, anybody under 50 is a kid for me. I expect it to really escalate. I expect that in the next few days, we will see live fire used in demonstrations across the nation. I expect to see things like Jackson State and Kent State happening in this country. And I don't think it's going to stop it. It's going to stop the rage. I also think that we may very well see the right-wing militias, and we've seen it in a couple of cities, right-wing militias trying to organize and stand in front of stores, and they're just itching for a chance to shoot people, and the cops will defend them every step of the way. There's no new tricks here. The establishment, the system has used tricks before. It's red baiting, it's anarchist baiting, it's trying to divide the Black and white communities, trying to use those respected leaders in the Black community, quote unquote respected, who always cooperate with the administration to be on their side and to call for an end to everything. The attempt to always put property values above human life is there. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us that when we talk to our neighbors, keep talking about what is a store is 100 pairs of shoes from a Nike store more important than the life of human beings? I know you all know this, but I think that's really the way to talk about it to our neighbors, to our friends who are already liberally inclined, but can easily fall into the whole trap of, well, they're destroying property, and that's just an awful thing to do. And we have to keep comparing that to the history. We have to keep saying to people, to white people, did your ancestors come here locked in the belly of a slave ship? Did your ancestors come back from World War I and get lynched in the streets after fighting for American freedom? And say that over and over again to people so they understand the rage that is out there from the centuries of destruction in the Black community and murders. And that's shared by a lot of young white kids. This is a different generation. This is a generation that was not, I'm not saying all white kids are not racist. There's a lot of racism out there. But there's a shitload of young white kids who don't really, they don't even notice if someone's trans. It's just like, what are you talking about? I don't care. I don't care what these people are. They're my friends. And they're enraged at this. And we need to encourage that rage, but I'm not sure how we can turn that in some political direction, except that inevitably we find that usually happens. We found that in the anti-war movement that people did that. And
okay.
I think
Can I go on to another person?
Sorry, I'm talking.
I have something.
Claire, Claire, do you want to speak?
No, I forgot to put my hand down. Sorry. Let me
All
put it.
right, Dominic.
Thanks. So one of the things that Mel said was, when he was talking about how to talk to people about this. I mean, I think something else to say about looting is that, I mean, you have to consider that we have at least 40 million unemployed people in this country right now. The only relief they've gotten is one $1,200 check. I mean, if you were in that situation, and I know that some of us here are, and I hope everyone on this call is, more or less okay, and that you have savings and family and whatever kind of safety net, because we know our government isn't providing the safety net, right? But I mean, if you're out there with no safety net and no income, then you would probably be looting too, given the opportunity. And it's kind of hard for people to disagree with that, at least in my limited experience, I think one thing that is new is that is the technology. And I'm thinking particularly of cameras being everywhere, not just, like the state's cameras, but everybody having a camera in their pocket and being able to stream to the internet. So it represents a new danger. If you spend way too much time on Twitter like me, you've probably seen a lot of commentary about don't photo people's faces, don't post people's faces. So there's a new danger there, people, doxing protesters and stuff like that. But I think it also represents a lot of new power, because I mean, one small example, yesterday, the protesters that were in downtown Pittsburgh, we have on camera that they're just like marching nonviolently, and the police just suddenly decide to gas them for no apparent reason. And, the police narrative is, a small group broke off and attacked the police. But we can see that's not true. Granted, not everybody gets to see that video, but it's at least it's better than a he said, she said, which usually goes in favor of the police, right? So I think that represents a lot of opportunity here. And I hope a lot of white people are seeing these clips online and just saying like, wow, I didn't realize how bad it was, or that police could so quickly and with little or no justification just lash out at unarmed, nonviolent people.
Thank you, Dominic. Can I move on? Beth, you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I was there on Saturday, but I was at the very, very, very end of the march. So back when everybody else was near Paints Arena, if they were to the front of the march, I was way back near Market Square on Fifth Avenue. It is incredible just how large that march was. And a very strange event happened to me, which was I asked someone, you know, what their flag was for, because I had it all floraled up, which seemed kind of odd. If you're at a protest, usually you spread your flag out, let people see it. And they were kind of cagey, and I looked at it again, and I realized I had kind of a floral print on it in purple on a black background. It was kind of weird. And then I asked them a second question, and they didn't really answer it. And after they walked away, I realized that this was probably one of these crazy boogaloo boy white supremacists. I don't think this was anybody from out of state. I suspect it probably is even someone who's local. But I think you can really get people who are there intentionally to cause problems.
Okay. Anybody else? Especially if you hadn't said anything yet tonight. Go ahead, Jay.
So I thought that, especially last night in East Liberty, this has all been a wake-up call for liberals. I think they can't, it's really hard to be like, this is all Trump's fault when, you know, Minnesota, Democratic mayor, Democratic council, Democratic governor, Democrat, everyone is a Democrat. It's really hard to blame Trump for what's happening in Minnesota. And also it's, yeah, like there are problems not just on the other side of the aisle. And I think that's a big wake-up call. Another interesting thing is the like mayors lying, just basically like people straight up lying. And when you can see the truth of it, then those lies, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they just lied to my face like that. So last night, Mayor Peduto saying that there was no tear gas used or that these people were being aggressive and that's why they got what they deserved. You know, it was like, we just saw the video. We just saw what happened. I just talked to many people who were there and like, it's very clear that what you're saying is not true. And that's just sort of like, is a big wake up call for people. And another thing I saw is this like outside agitator thing. The Minneapolis mayor, I saw this like Forbes article that the Minneapolis mayor said, oh, the police said that everyone arrested was from outside Minneapolis. And then it turned out like 20 minutes later, they updated the article that said almost everybody they arrested was from Minneapolis. But the headlines still say everyone is from outside of Minneapolis. They're all outside agitators, everyone arrested. And that's being shared like all across Facebook. People are sharing it with their own commentary, not reading the article, which was like reversed 180 from what the headline said. And I don't know, it's crazy to see cities across the country blame outside agitators at the same time. And we know that now because like we have Twitter, we can hear from people in other cities instantly. And it's the same playbook, shutting down transit, curfews, outside agitators. It's just like so scary. It's clearly planned. You know, I don't know like how much of it's planned, but clearly the response has been planned together. There's a playbook they're going out.
Thanks, Jay. Chuck.
Yeah, I mean, this is a problem that's been a couple hundred years in the making. And I mean, everyone agrees that the looting and destruction is not a good thing. But, you know, I've talked to some of my African-American friends and they're against it too. But it's like, you know, their thought process is, well, where was the outcry when the Klan was burning our churches and homes down? You know, but I guess the bigger question is now, you know, we could sit here and talk about the looters and this and that, but what are some, what solutions would people like to see? What would be good first steps? You know, it's a very complex issue and the solutions are probably going to be quite complex as well. I think a good first step is I'm sure that you talk to any police department in America, they know who their bad apples are. I think one good thing is to get them to start calling those people out. I mean, the guy that they arrested, and all of them should have been arrested, but from what I read, he had 17 or 18 write-ups. I mean, you know, 1 or 2 is one thing, but he probably shouldn't even have been on the force at this point. But I mean, you know, what kind of baby steps would we like to see to at least see that we're moving in the right direction? There's always a lot of talk. And, you know, unfortunately, when I saw the Rodney King beating on tape, I never imagined in a million years those cops would be acquitted, but they were. So there's no guarantee that this guy's going to get convicted either. And, if that happens, you might be wishing for what you have now, because I hate to see what would happen then. So that's kind of all I got.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. Anybody else?
Well, now there's Claire.
Claire, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to say a couple things about one, what demands can we make? What can we should address the solutions? I also wanted to point out to something that people don't realize. The police are not protectors for the Black communities. They regularly loot the Black community. There's something called civil asset forfeiture. And the police gain billions of dollars, is my understanding, every year. This is all around the country. And monies and resources. And what it's about is the police going into people's houses, tearing up their houses, and making off with their possessions. And the Southern Poverty Law Center did a study on this. So I could tell you that civil asset forfeitures, 80 or 70% of the people whose houses are gone into, torn up, and their goods carried off, their hard-earned possessions are carried off by the police, are Black people. So 70% are Black people. 80% of people who are victimized by civil asset forfeitures turn out they're never convicted of any crime. They're never even charged because they never did any crime. And 90% of those people never get their money and their resources back. So the police are into a big looting game in which they loot the Black community, and white people need to be aware of this regularly and take people's possessions. So you want to talk about people's possessions. They take people's possessions at will, take people's monies, this is a major problem in the Black communities where the police come in and they clean out people's houses. And they're not people who are criminals. People, as I said, 80% of the people they're never charged for any crime, but they still don't get their stuff back. Another thing, my parents and I have a brother, they live in Homewood. A couple of times I've gone to Homewood where I've gone down and the cars on the block are all the cars are banged up. I asked what happened. The police came driving through here, is what they say, and they just damaged all the cars on the block. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? But you don't hear Black people saying, you don't hear so, I mean, it's bad enough that people are killed, but the police do major looting and damaging of property in the Black community with impunity all the time. And you don't hear anybody raising any concerns about that. Now, in terms of solutions, one of the things that Black Lives Matter, and Carl and I have talked about this and other people, is defunding, is to raise the cry, defunding the police. In many cities, the police eat up 1/3, in some cities as much as half the city's budget. At the same time that schools are defunded, rec centers are defunded, people don't have jobs, all kinds of community services are defunded and or privatized. So you have these cities, and right now with this COVID thing, all these cities and municipalities and states around the country are crying, we don't have money. So they're pulling even more monies from needed services that people need, but they're talking about giving more to the police. And one of the problems it creates is we don't need these big, massive police forces. We need to make sure that people have community centers and rec centers and drugstores and healthcare centers and that people have jobs. And cities need to be, and housing to live in. You know, Pittsburgh's losing 4 or 5 Black people a day because they're doing this gentrifying, which not only causes people to lose their homes, but lose their jobs, lose their transportation. I mean, we should be making the demand. We want our cities to put their monies in services that people need, not in creating an oppressive, militarized police state. And that's not what we need. Okay, so I'll just stop. So I could go on forever.
All right, thank you, Claire. All right, we are after 7.
For you, Claire, the civil forfeiture stuff, is this happening a lot in Pittsburgh?
It is happening some. I don't know the extent in Pittsburgh. I only know the national features. I do know it's happening some. That would be something we'd have to research. How much is it happening in Pittsburgh? But I do know, as I said, on my street where my parents live, the police come down damaging people's cars. How much the civil forfeiture thing is happening in Pittsburgh or Allegheny County, someone would have to do some homework and investigate to see.
Maybe we could just ask Lisa Middleman to find out.
Also, the Pittsburgh Police Department is like, I guess like changing. I mean, just recently it was under like federal consent decree for being like so corrupt and horrible. So that legacy is pretty recent. I don't know. That's just something to keep in mind.
Okay, we're on, if you have the agenda, we're on the second page, open floor. Any comments? How did the meeting go?
I have a very quick question. All of the topics that we've talked about so far, we should, with Ron and the communications team, work on sharing stuff. Not necessarily like making our own statement, but would anyone, I assume no one would have any objections to sharing articles about all the things we talked about, right? Civil forfeit, asset forfeiture, and things like that. Post them on social media and make sure that we share it with people.
So you're saying we should send it to Ron, send these articles to Ron?
Yeah, if anyone has any really good articles to share, we can post that on social media and really try to spread the word on it. Because I like hearing all those things, that the police are looting the people and stuff. You know, turn around the narrative as much as we can.
All right, any other comments? Different topics or what you thought about our meeting tonight? Dominic's got a thumb up. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So motion.
And we will have we meet the first Tuesday of the month, 6 o'clock on Zoom. Garrett, are we doing that again in July?
I would expect that it'll probably be on Zoom.
Okay. Good to see everybody.
Nice to meet all you new people. Bye.
Bye now. Thanks, Garrett.